Hey guys, it's Greg, and in this vlog I'm going to talk a little bit about some personal experiences with how my opinions of games have evolved over time, and how my ability to critique them has changed in all sorts of different ways. The game in the background is Company of Heroes 2, which is fitting because this game has an important part in my discussion. I had some notes in a 30-minute recording I was going to put up, but I didn't like the way it turned out, and I opted to write out a script and read off of it, of course. Me being the voice actor I am, I can make it seem like I'm not reading from a script at all. No, seriously. I got really mad. Like, really, really mad. In retrospective, I probably should not have gotten as upset as I did. But at the time, I had little knowledge of what was going on, and, well, that can either make you really happy or upset. In this case, I was upset. But first, a prelude. The recording I made in response to Gaijin's post in the forums and whatnot received a great bit of reception. There is a very weird glitch at the beginning of this match, so don't be alarmed if it seems a little odd. Anyway, the recording I made received a great bit of reception that I wasn't expecting. From both ends of the spectrum, positive and negative. People seemed to either agree with me wholeheartedly, with a few disagreements here and there, or hated my guts and wanted to punch me in the mouth. The latter of which was a very, very rude, loud, and vulgar minority of people that I wish I hadn't argued with in the first place, as I believe that created a bad image for me that I didn't want to be presented. But it's the internet. It's set in stone. And while I still stand by the points I made in that video, I think it's important to address why I was upset in the first place. I've been playing flight simulators ever since I was a little kid. One day, when I was in middle school, I picked up a game at a book fair called IL-2 1946. A game which many armchair pilots are quite familiar with. I sunk more hours into that game than I could possibly imagine any other. I've been playing like I said, I've been playing flight sims ever since I was a little kid. I went through the ground school lessons and reading material and all sorts of games that we got that I was growing up. I think Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2 is the only game I put more time into than IL-2 1946, though. And as a middle schooler, I had no idea what I was doing, so I didn't do a whole lot of multiplayer, but I played a lot with the single-player missions, and that in turn prompted me to read up on the history of many of the countries who produced these aircraft during World War II, and the minds that went into these powerful and stunning machines, because it's a very fascinating topic to me. Phone. But I lost interest over time. Fast forward to high school, about now, and a friend of mine recommends War Thunder to me, knowing that I'm a propeller head and had been waiting for a decent next generation title like that for a long time. An HD remake or HD game about World War II aerial combat. I wanted that so bad. At the time he recommended the game to me, I was playing World of Tanks. And while I liked World of Tanks, wargaming was frustrating and ugh, and I decided to put it down in favor of War Thunder for a while. How ironic, because that phase of mine involved me ranting on and off about how terrible wargaming was and how War Thunder was going to put wargaming out of business and yada yada yada. Now, obviously, if you listen to me ramble in my response video, the one that I talked about at the beginning, you'd know that I had a change of heart about War Thunder. Over time, I became increasingly upset with some of the inconsistencies that could have been easily fixed. I kept playing and was going to continue playing, albeit with a bit of annoyance, but when the post I responded to on the forums went up, I decided to just go ahead and speak exactly what was on my mind at the time. I felt that Gaijin was wasting War Thunder's potential, and I left it at that. Now, like I said, I still stand by the points I made in that recording. But my take on the matter has evolved somewhat in light of something that happened to me recently on Company of Heroes 2. And now I'm going to explain how I got into Company of Heroes 2, like I haven't given enough exposition already. I got into Company of Heroes as a result of trying to find a good competitive RTS that wasn't StarCraft. Oh my lord. If you know me well enough, you know how much I hate StarCraft. No offense to anyone watching this video who likes it, but in my personal opinion, I can't stand it. I feel that the game is way too dependent on tactics and not enough strategy. There's no such thing as a big picture in StarCraft. At least, there's not much of an emphasis on it. It mainly revolves around your ability to micromanage little details here and there and memorize what to do at the right time. So if you didn't look it up on Team Liquid, then you're out of luck. There's no thinking for yourself. There's no theory crafting. That's why there are smart Korean people to do that for you. Greg, that's racist. No, it's not. At least, again, that's my personal experience with the game. I could go into a long spiel about StarCraft, but not gonna. Can't wait to see what minute things I got wrong in that paragraph that some people still are gonna point out. Moving on. At the end of the day, I wanted a good RTS that people played. Supreme Commander 2, no one played it. Red Alert 3, no one played it. Company of Heroes, awesome game. No one plays it. Or the Blitzkrieg mod, talking about the original Company of Heroes, by the way, which is awesome, and it's disappointing that no one seems to care or know about it. But Company of Heroes 2 had, and still has, a lot going on for it because its community is very active. However, I didn't have a high opinion of Company of Heroes 2 at a time, and to a degree, still don't, despite the fact that I played in multiplayer. I hate catchy choruses, and I'm a hypocrite. Some of you may have watched Bad Comedian's review of Company of Heroes 2, which pointed out a lot of discrepancies in the single-player story of Company of Heroes 2. He brought up a lot of good points, and at the time, I was completely against buying it. Completely. And then the game went on sale, and I got the digital collector's edition at half off. Why? Because I'm a consumer whore, and I was that damn desperate for a good RTS. Now, as you may gather from this video and what I'm about to say, I'm still quite new to the game, and there are some things that I'm working to improve in terms of my playing ability. But now, with all that exposition out of the way, I can get to the main point of the vlog. I had a match on Company of Heroes 2. I was in the lead by a very, very good margin, holding my opponent's pushes until the late game, in which he got some particularly troublesome units. One of the abilities was the ability to call in a Sturmovik attack plane and have it loiter in the air for a pretty long time. And this stupid thing pretty much made mincemeat of my infantry forces. And that was very troublesome because I had a commander that didn't really put an emphasis on fuel-based units, and this guy had anti-tank guns out the freaking wazoo. The damn thing wrecked my infantry force and prevented me from keeping the opponent off of the cap. He must have had a good number of munitions points I wasn't looking at because he was able to keep calling it in over and over and over again. He won the match by 16 points. I had a 300-point lead. I was furious. My poor buddy Matt, who I was in a UVU call, which is pretty much a hipster version of Skype, who was in the call with me, had to listen to me fling out a long tirade of expletives and, what the hell, it's gotta... I felt cheated. But eventually I sat down, and I let it fume out. After about 5 minutes, I had an epiphany. The only perfect competitive game is chess. Or something like it. The perfect game that I've been looking for in Company of Heroes 2 and in War Thunder doesn't exist. And it will never exist. Game developers will get close to it. But they'll never get it 100% because after all, games are made by humans. And games are, at the end of the day, games. That's a philosophy I followed that only became more ingrained after that match I had in Company of Heroes 2. And I think that brings up an interesting point about hype. Because War Thunder, or Gaijin, what they're doing with the tanks, they're basically taking tanks and they're hyping it up and hyping it up and hyping it up and hyping it up in an effort to do away with whatever wargaming might be cooking up. And I fear that's going to have some harmful repercussions for the game, for the popularity of the game, because if they keep hyping it up, and they keep hyping it up, I'm talking without my notes, by the way. I quite literally ran out of script, so I'm just talking as the video goes on. If they just keep hyping it up, it's going to be like a champagne bottle. You just keep shaking it and shaking it and shaking it, and then you take the cork off, and then all the juice just comes flying out everywhere, and it just makes a big mess because people will expect too much. And that's kind of what happened with Titanfall recently, which is, from what I've gathered and from what I've played of it in the beta, is a stellar game. Really, really good game. But a lot of people were expecting something different. And when you get a game and you just hype it up to Kingdom Come, when it comes out, people are gonna be really, really upset. Because the game isn't capable of bearing sandwiches and making children. And they expected it to do one of those things. Two, if you can. Two, if you're a decent human being, you would try to aim for two of those. Obviously sarcasm. But you get the idea I'm trying to make, hopefully. Too much hype can be a bad thing. And having your expectations too high for developers and games alike can also just make it more stressful for you. I know it made it a little bit more stressful than it needed to be for me about War Thunder, because I was expecting War Thunder, and War Thunder still has problems that should be addressed. And I still stand by my points. Should Gaijin address the problems in the game currently? Yeah. But I don't think I should be too personally upset about it. And I don't think anyone ought to be personally upset about it. I was upset at the time because I felt War Thunder was a case of wasted potential. And I didn't want it to be wasted potential. And I just sat down and I spoke what was on my mind. And I'm glad I did. Despite the fact that I got some negative criticism here and there. But that's the nature of speaking your opinion on something. If you haven't said something that some people disagree with strongly about something important, if you're talking about a controversial topic or something with a lot of emotions involved on both sides, and if you don't get a few people upset, you're not doing it right. And you don't try to get people upset. No, you don't. But like I said, I spoke what was on my mind at the time, and the emotions I had at the time. Just like I'm doing with this vlog right now. But I'm talking based off of experiences that I've come across recently. And that changed opinion is going to influence some of the content on this channel as well. Thanks for watching my vlog. Thanks for listening to the spiel and whatnot. I'll return to a normal schedule as I stated on my YouTube feed. Thanks.